140 feet beneath the Adriatic Sea lies an impossible contradiction. A bomber that should never have been special became the most important B-24 ever built. The Tulsamerican was just another warplane rolling off the assembly line in Tulsa, Oklahoma, except for one detail that made it unforgettable. Every rivet, every panel, every inch of aluminum carried the signatures of the workers who built it, paid for with their own war bonds. But here is what haunts investigators when they found the wreck in 2010. Those signatures were still visible on the corroded fuselage, along with something else. A parachute canopy pinned beneath a propeller blade near the cockpit had been guarding a secret for 66 years. Inside that canopy were human remains that would take 7 more years in a month-long international recovery mission to extract and identify. So what went wrong on December 17, 1944, that was different from the Tulsamerican's previous 150 combat missions? Why did Croatian authorities designate this bomber wreck a protected historic monument, requiring special permission just to touch it? And what did that parachute preserve that finally closed one of World War II's 73,000 missing persons cases? The last Liberator built in Tulsa carried 10 men into the sky that day. Only 7 would make it home. The year is 2010, and a team from the Croatian Conservation Institute Department for Underwater Archaeology is conducting surveys near the Isle of Vis in the Adriatic Sea. When divers descend to investigate, they encounter a ghost from another era. A 33-meter wingspan spreads across the seafloor, the distinctive twin-tail configuration of a B-24 Liberator at 140 feet. But it is when they carefully clean away decades of marine growth from a small metal plate that the discovery becomes extraordinary. The identification emerges. Serial number 4-2-51430. The Tulsamerican. Not just any B-24 from the 18,000 manufactured during the war, but the last one built at Douglas Aircraft's Tulsa plant in July 1944. Near the cockpit section, they spot something that makes them stop. A parachute canopy, still partially intact, pinned beneath one of the massive propeller blades. Whatever lies beneath that canopy has been protected from the Adriatic's currents since December 1944. Before we continue, a quick reminder: subscribing is the easiest way to support this channel. It helps us dedicate more time to uncovering these sunken stories and preserving maritime history for everyone who values these forgotten chapters. Now let's get back to the Tulsamerican. To understand why this discovery matters, we need to travel back to July 1944 to the Douglas Aircraft Company's massive production facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But the Tulsamerican's construction was different. This bomber was funded entirely by war bonds purchased by the factory workers themselves and Tulsa citizens. Before leaving the factory floor, those workers signed the fuselage, their names covering panels inside and out, turning an instrument of war into a personal promise. The B-24J specifications were 33 meters of wingspan, with 4 engines capable of 300 miles per hour and a 2,100-mile combat range. 10 .50 caliber machine guns defended the aircraft, including the ball turret, crucial to our story, positioned directly below where attacking fighters could strike unseen. By December 1944, assigned to the 765th Bomb Squadron operating from Italian bases, the aircraft had completed 150 combat missions. December 17, 1944. The target was oil refineries at Odertal, near the Polish border. Before takeoff, crews received a critical order: do not lower your ball turrets unless actively under attack. Every bit of fuel efficiency was essential for the maximum range mission. What Allied intelligence did not know: Germany had repositioned elite Luftwaffe fighters to defend this target, and they knew American bombers would fly with ball turrets retracted, leaving them vulnerable from below. The Tulsamerican's crew, pilot Captain Eugene Ford, navigator Russell Landry, flight engineer Charles Priest, and bombardier Val Miller among them, approached Odertal when the Luftwaffe struck from directly below. Cannon shells tore through the fuselage, one engine erupting in flames. Fuel streamed from punctured tanks. Ford released the bombs early and turned for home, but home was 600 miles away, and the Tulsamerican was bleeding fuel and altitude. Over Hungary, anti-aircraft fire added more damage. Ford faced an impossible choice. They could not reach Italy. The one option was the Isle of Vis in the Adriatic, held by Allied forces. The Tulsamerican limped across Hungary on 3 engines, losing altitude with every mile. Captain Ford made his final command decision. He would attempt a controlled ditching, keeping the bomber as intact as possible to give everyone the best chance. The massive bomber hit the water hard. 7 men fought their way out through hatches and emergency exits, emerging into the cold Adriatic waters near Vis. They waited for rescue vessels that would arrive within hours, but 3 men never surfaced. Captain Eugene Ford, navigator Russell Landry, and flight engineer Charles Priest went down with the Tulsamerican, disappearing into 140 feet of water. Their names joined the growing list of missing in action, part of the 73,000 American service members from World War II who would never receive proper burial. Bombardier Val Miller was pulled from the water with a broken leg, spending the next 16 months in military hospitals recovering from his injuries. The families of Ford, Landry, and Priest received the dreaded telegram declaring their loved ones missing. Ford's daughter, Norma Beard, would grow up never visiting her father's grave because no grave existed. The Tulsamerican settled relatively intact on the seabed, the cold water and low oxygen environment protecting the wreck from rapid decay. Those worker signatures remain visible in protected sections. The parachute that would prove crucial 7 decades later stayed pinned beneath the propeller blade, sheltering what it covered from the Adriatic's currents. When side-scan sonar and magnetometer technology had advanced to the point where systematic surveys of the Adriatic became feasible, the Croatian Conservation Institute's underwater archaeologists conducted multiple mapping passes. When they confirmed the aircraft's identity through that identification plate, bearing serial number 4251430, the Croatian government immediately designated the site a protected historic monument. Any future disturbance would require special permission and international cooperation, which is exactly what happened in 2017. The United States Defense WWII accounting agency launched a month-long recovery operation with support from the Croatian Navy. International underwater archaeologists worked at the site. At 140 feet, divers face strict decompression protocols, limiting each shift to approximately 1 hour of bottom time. Remotely operated vehicles conducted initial surveys and recorded the video documentation before human divers entered the wreck site. The team established a grid pattern search of the debris field surrounding the main fuselage. The cockpit section remained relatively intact despite 73 years underwater, and that is where the critical discovery occurred. When divers carefully excavated beneath the pinned parachute canopy near the pilot's position, they found human remains that the canopy had protected from being scattered by currents. Additional artifacts emerged: military equipment, clothing fragments, a life vest, flight boots, and most significantly, a serial plate that would later help identify the aircraft and make the site a protected historic monument. A gold wedding ring was recovered. Field preservation techniques were applied immediately to protect organic material for DNA analysis. The identification process was thorough. Serial number 42-51430 matched Douglas Aircraft Company, Tulsa production records exactly. Structural measurements of wingspan, tail configuration, and gun mount positions confirmed B-24J specifications. Worker signatures, still partially visible on interior fuselage panels, provided unique identifiers. Damage patterns corresponded precisely with the reported fighter attack from below and subsequent flak hits. Engine configuration matched maintenance records from the 765th Bomb Squadron. The remains recovered from beneath the parachute canopy underwent DNA extraction at DPBAA laboratories in Hawaii. Family DNA samples provided by Captain Eugene Ford's relatives enabled conclusive results. The remains were positively identified as Captain Ford. The gold wedding ring matched family photographs. After 73 years, one of the 3 missing crewmen had finally been accounted for. The remains of Landry and Priest were not recovered, meaning they remain entombed with the Tulsamerican. In 2018, Captain Eugene Ford was interred at Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors. His daughter, Norma Beard, finally able to stand at her father's grave and say goodbye. The Tulsamerican matters beyond one family's closure. The wreck provides scientists with an intact example of B-24 construction techniques preserved by the Adriatic Sea conditions. Historians gain physical evidence corroborating written accounts of the December 17th mission. The aircraft has become an artificial reef supporting marine ecosystems for 7 decades. For archaeologists, it represents a rare perfect match between known history and physical evidence. The DPAA mission continues for 73,000 service members still missing from World War II alone. The Tulsamerican recovery demonstrates what modern underwater archaeology can now accomplish. PBS Nova documented the recovery in the program Last B-24, which aired November 7, 2018, featuring interviews with Val Miller shortly before his death at age 94, and with Norma Beard as she finally understood her father's final moments. The site remains protected under Croatian law and international maritime agreements, recognized as a war grave under the U.S. Sunken Military Craft Act. The Tulsamerican serves as a memorial to the 461st Bombardment Group's sacrifices. 10 men flew mission 151st. 7 came home that day. 1 came home 73 years later. 2 remain with their aircraft, still guarded by the signatures of the Tulsa workers who sent them to war. The last Liberator from Tulsa still serves, now as a monument to the cost of freedom written in aluminum and sacrifice.